There we go. Hello, everyone. It is iDarkSymphony777 with another fanfiction reading. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. And finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the next story I'm doing is His Name is Q by Jador. There's nothing more to say. I know that apparently the person who played Discord in My Little Pony voiced some guy named Q from Star Trek. I don't know much more context than that. So yeah, let's just get into it. His dream being sat in Fluttershy the Pegasus Garden, reading a book. One had actually thought to look at the book, one would see that it was covered on every page in simple, swirly lines, as if to crudely represent writings to someone watching as opposed to being genuine literature. Since the being reading the book was a spirit of chaos, it wasn't entirely surprising. He had the face of an upper body of a pony, with a snaggletooth mouth, and a selection of mismatching buddy poods making up the rest of his form, from a lion's paw to an eagle's claw to a cloven hoof to a dragon's foot. He was a kind of being, or rather, the sole example, he thought, of a being known as Jetquaniquus. His name, appropriately enough given the odd arrangement of body parts he possessed, was Discord. As he sat there reading, he frowned slightly. The book was interesting enough, fortunate enough. He was able to read the cartoonishy squiggles. Don't ask how, rules of logic not applying to him at all. But it wasn't distracting him from a nagging feeling he had been having for well over a month. Hello. The small voice of Fluttershy, his only real friend, spoke. He turned to look at her as she stepped out of her house into her garden, and smiled at her. The little yellow Pegasus smiled back. My dear Fluttershy, he said, his voice full, almost melodious, if a tad melodramatic. Wonderful to see you. Discord, she asked, her voice small. I wasn't expecting you. Reformed I may be, Discord said with a wry grin, but if I ever became predictable, I'd be a very poor use for a spirit of disharmony, wouldn't I? In truth, he had felt the need to come visit Fluttershy. He couldn't explain why, and he wasn't sure he wanted to, but he felt like it was important to come and see her. It's good to see you anyway, Fluttershy said kindly. Would you like a cup of tea? No thanks, Discord said, snapping his fingers. As Ingle Claw, a cup of deep black liquid materialized. I've a cup of coffee right here. He frowned softly, turning his head to look at a cup. What's Rakajino? Fluttershy asked curiously, looking at the cup. I have no idea. I do this when I just wake up, but I gotta do it. As Gert said softly, this was new. He knew a lot of things, almost everything, in fact. He was pretty old and pretty knowledgeable after all. I just summoned it. He took a sip. Ah, it's ghastly. Ah, well. He threw the cup away, and it landed in a bush. It's coffee, or some horrible Klingon excuse. For it, a cocky-sounding voice spoke out of thin air. Discord's ears perked up. He heard the voices, though it was coming from all around. Who is that? Fluttershy asked, looking around in confusion and worry. I don't know, Discord said with a frown. He stood up, his book and the cup of Raka whatever finishing in a flash. Forgotten me so soon, bro, the voice said. I'm hurt. From out of nowhere, another flash appeared, identical to how Discord normally traveled, and a figure emerged from the light. Fluttershy gasped in shock at the sight. It was another Draconicus. It almost looked identical to Discord, save for the fact that where Discord was gray beard and dark brown fur and a black mane, this Draconicus was brown beard, with blonde fur and an auburn mane, as well as lacking a snaggletooth. The minute this new Draconicus saw Discord, he grinned, throwing his arm wide. There you are, he said happily, grinning at Discord at what can only be described as delight. It's been too long. The new Draconicus' voice was tinged with a vague Trottingham accent, and he seemed genuinely happy to see Discord, judging by his tone of voice. Discord regarded the new Draconicus with wide eyes. Oh, you. Huh. Who are you, he asked, more surprised than he tended to be after such things such as this. You don't remember me? Huh. Has it been that long? The other Draconicus said, looking concerned, his arm drooping to the sides. Really? Come on. Q, it's me. My name is Discord. Discord said coldly, regarding the new Draconicus with wary eyes. And who might you be? I'm, the being said, his voice trailing off slightly. Well, I suppose for the sake of clarity, let's call me your long-lost brother. Very funny. Discord said, lowering his eyes at the being. I happen to know there, though other Draconicus apart from me. Actually, there are no Draconicus, full stop. The being said, looking fairly concerned. All appearances contrary, you just invented it when you came here. I was born a Draconicus, Discord countered, now getting irritated. The new Draconicus frowned, now clearly worried. No, you weren't, he said. Oh, no, don't tell me you forgot. Forgot what? Discord asked. Do me a favor, the being asked, and change the gravitational constant of the universe. Of the universe. Discord repeated, eyes wide. As in, the entire universe? Yep. Oh, however many of the hoo-ha square lights it is, Bean said, grinning slightly. Discord looked at the bean for a moment, before bursting out laughing. That's a good one, he said. Change the gravitational constant of the universe, as if that's even possible. The bean stopped grinning, just looking at Discord with something resembling shock. Slowly, Discord stopped laughing. The other Draconicus face hoofed and then held up his eagle claw before waving it in an outward motion, as almost as if he were swatting a fly. And suddenly, Discord and Fluttershy were suddenly flowing. What? Fluttershy said, looking around shocked. Discord was equally surprised, but the surprise was short-lived as the being waved his hand again, and found that he was back on the ground. You forgot, the other Draconicus said shortly, sounding a combination of irritated and happy. Well, that's okay, I guess. Can always just take you back home to the Continuum. Hope that you remember when you were there. Remember what? Discord asked, irritated. Who you are, of course, the other Draconicus said with a smile. It's probably gonna work. Come with me. I don't think so, Discord said irritably. I have less than no interest in going anywhere with you. You think you have a choice, the other Draconicus said. He scrutinized Discord closely, then gasped in shock, and nodding in comprehension. Oh, I get it now. You fetter yourself, Q. Discord. Discord corrected. I get it now. The other Draconicus said, when you came here, you fettered to really live it out here. You created a species specifically to do that, and yet retain some semblance of your power. Hence he gestured to Discord's Discord form. Motley appearance. I have no idea what you're talking about, Discord said irritably. But even in your fettered state, he added, ignoring Discord, you must have felt something just a bit off. Would have been fairly recent in Lydia time. Discord said nothing, but his eyes widened slightly. He had been feeling something wrong. He just didn't know how to describe it. I see you have, the other Draconicus smiled. That's the Continuum, calling you home. We need you back, Q. Discord. The Discord corrected. I'm still not going anywhere with you. I have a schedule to keep after all. The flashlight appeared and a long scroll tumbled to the ground from Discord's claw. The other Draconicus chuckled softly. Cute, Discord. You can say what you like, but in your fettered state, and here his voice took on a slightly sinister tone, you're nothing next to my power. The other Draconicus gave an unsettling smile. I could take you by force if I had to. And though I'd rather not, I really will. Now listen here, Fluttershy spoke up, flying to the other Draconicus with a hard look in her eye. I don't know who you think you are, being mean to Discord, but you're not taking him anywhere. Aww, look at that, Q. Discord. The Draconicus said with a condescending smile, his tone patronizing. You made a friend, or possibly a pet. Really can't tell the difference. She's my friend, Discord said almost lightly. That's right, Buster, Fluttershy said angrily. I'm his friend. If you don't leave him alone right this second, Don't threaten me, kid, Draconicus said, a wave of his hand adding a zip to Fluttershy's mouth, and that closed very quickly. So pathetic, it isn't even funny. Discord snapped his finger, and the zip disappeared. Whoever you are, and frankly, I'm not sure I care, is my tough, he said angrily, and this is my friend. I'm not going anywhere with you. Interesting, the other Draconicus said with a thoughtful expression. Could it be that you're staying for your friend here? Discord said nothing, but the other being laughed anyway. Ha ha, it is, isn't it? He said. I should become attached to these things. And what if I have? Coldly, Discord asked coldly. That's so like you, the Genicon said with a mock sad shake of his head. So similar to that time you... He trailed off. You know, not nearly as attached to you as you are to M. What do you mean? Discord asked, narrowing his eyes. That's always the way, the other Genicon said. You'll mess with their lives a little, but you do it because, despite all reasons, they actually interest you. Their lives are so short, but so full. Blame me, Discord. I know. My name is Discord! Discord shouted. The other Draconicus held his hands up in a placating gesture. Okay, Discord, he said, but you know, he had continued his previous train of thought. You can attach to these things all you want. You think they're good sport, maybe even your actual friends. But there aren't, Discord. They'll never understand you. Not like us. Us? Discord asked. Us! You people, the other Genicronicus said. His tone almost serious, even pleading. Not Geniconiqui, but the Q continuum. Our species. Your species. Your home. Family. Family. Discord said softly. That struck a chord. For as long as he could remember, he had been the only one of his kind. The only one with his level of power over reality. He shook his head, ignoring the desire to learn more about his own kind. The ancient desire to be among others who were just like him, so long ignored and forgotten. I don't remember you. Judging my dismissal of my friend and your dismissal of my free will, I don't think I want to, he said with finality. Anyone who knows me should know that I don't take kindly to being threatened, or having my free will ignored. Oh, I know, the other Draconica said, but you know, it isn't just me that wants you back. The others want you back too, and I don't care what it takes. Well, I'm not going, Disco said. End of the other Draconicus sighed. To your attachments in it, he stated more than asked. They're what's keeping you here. And a Steve's smile played out on the Draconicus face. What if I showed you just how little they actually cared about you? Yes. What if I showed you how much their friendship is worth? Discord tensed, sensing that nothing good would come of this. But before he could act, he found himself sat in an uncomfortable leather chair. The only uncomfortable thing being the shackle around his waist preventing him from standing up. The only other thing to note was the gag around Discord's mouth, preventing him from speaking. A moment later, a flash of light heralded the other Draconicus, who looked suitably abashed by the entire thing, but also resolute. Hello again, he said sharply. I'm sorry about this. It's something of a cliche. I know, but it really is all for your own good. And with that, before Discord could even try to say anything to the gag, he vanished. Twilight Sparkle was confused. A moment ago, the puppy one had been reading a book about stars still at the building, trying to continue her studies. But now she found herself standing in what she could only describe as a wet void. A moment's inspection revealed the presence of the other bearers of the elements of harmony. Sans Fluttershy. All looking as confused as she was. Twilight! Rainbow Dash called out, and Twilight walked over to join her friends. What is this place? I don't know, Twilight said softly, regarding the confused Blue Pegasus with worry. Wherever they were, it was somewhere far from Equestria. Better question, Applejack put in. The orange Earth Pony looking around with something resembling fear on her face. Where's Fluttershy? That's definitely a better question. Came an unfamiliar voice. A moment later, a flashlight heralded the appearance of a Draconicus. Discord! Rainbow Dash yelled at once. Nope. Wrong, the Draconicus said, grinning. Actually, to go with the name of convention he seemed to establish, I don't know what you called me. You're another Draconicus, Twilight stated, eyes wide in shock. All of her research into the matter has suggested that Discord was the only one. That's an accurate name, but I don't see it taken off, Draconicus said thoughtfully. Hello, my name's another Draconicus. Nice to meet you. See, that just doesn't work. Pinkie Pie snorted softly, clearly amused. A glare from Applejack shut her off. I suppose if your friend, the Draconicus said, air quoting the word friend, Discord is the spirit of harmony. I'm more like the spirit of... Well, here, he smiled, a cold, unsettling thing. I guess you can call me Fraternitus. I'm his brother, after all. He never said he had a brother, Twilight pointed out, eyes narrowed. Of course he didn't, Fraternitus said. He doesn't remember. See, T and I come from another place, far from your world. Call it a spirit dimension, if you like. That is your term for us, isn't it? Spirit. At the wary nods from Twilight and the others, he continued. He came here to learn and to test, and apparently felt the need to fetter himself to do it. Fetter himself? Twilight asked from behind Twilight. You mean chain himself? Metaphorically, Fraternitus said. In our natural state, we're pretty much gods. He's powerful as he is now, sure, but no god. Not like he should be. It's all very boring, but it doesn't explain why we're here, Rainbow said angrily, and why Fluttershy isn't here. Fraternitus smiled his cold smile again. That would be because she's through this door. He waved his hand into the yellow door with the symbol of 3 butterflies. Fluttershy cutie mark appeared. What have you done with her, you varmint? Amblejack said angrily. Locked her behind door number 2. Fraternitus replied, grinning, and behind door one, he waved his hand and a brown door with the letter Q emblazoned on it appeared. Who was behind that? Pinky asked. Fraternitus didn't reply, merely waving his friends. Letters appeared, surrounding the letter Q until they spread out the word. Disquad. Quad. You're holding Discord, prisoner? Twilight asked, looking at the door with suspicions. He's powerful, but like I said, in this fetter state, he's nothing to us, Fraternitus said simply. Why are we here? Why are you doing this? Applejack said, frowning. Simple, really, Fraternitus said. I told Q, Discord, that he had to come on with me. He refused. Jack Conicus gave a nasty grin. That means he is a threat. He has our power, or something like it, but won't return to abide with our kind. And more importantly, will acknowledge our kind, and therefore will acknowledge our authority. That creates a discontinuity, and a discontinuity must be... And here, Fraternitus' grin grew even crueler. Dealt with. What does it have to do with us? Rainbow Dash asked. Simple, really, Fraternitus said. I'm going to utterly destroy either Discord or your friend Fluttershy. No, Twilight yelled. The others reacted similarly strongly. Yes, Fraternitus said, still grinning. It's simple. Either Discord dies to prevent the discontinuity, or he comes back with me and your little friend dies. Why involve us, though? Verity asked. Because you are going to choose who dies, Fraternitus said. There was another murmur of shock from the 5 ponies. Can we choose? Twilight asked, echoing her friend's reaction. It's a horrible choice. Oh, I know, Fraternitus said, smiling slightly. But I like it. Not real simple, really. He waved his hands, and each pony was suddenly placed in a separate box. They could still hear Fraternitus and see him through a single window at the front of each box. Individually, you'll decide which one you want to die. God. Throat is irritating me. Fraternitus said, you will leave the box, enter the room, and tell the individual within that you want them to die. You will not reveal that another being is in danger, and you will mean everything you say. You will want the individual you choose dead. Make no mistake. Small thing, I know. I will know if you don't, and that will count as a vote to the other. The individual with the most votes at the end gets to die. You're a monster, Twilight said angrily. Oh, yeah. Fraternitus said with a grin. I know. With that, he disappeared, leaving 5 ponies and 5 boxes aside which they wanted to die. Rainbow Dash didn't like Discord. That much was obvious. She was eager to deride him, put him down, and distrust him. That didn't mean she wanted him to die. This was a big deal. A really big deal. She didn't think she had it in her to bestow that kind of judgment, but she had to. She didn't want Fluttershy to die. The little Pegasus was one of her best friends. That was the crux of it, really. Rainbow didn't want Fluttershy to die. She didn't particularly want Discord to die either, but she desperately wanted to save her friend. And compared to her, her desire to save Discord, really, her desire to not kill him was, well, irrelevant. Not as much of an issue. If he had to die to save Fluttershy, it was sad, but still, that was a far cry from literally wanting him to die. She frowned. She had to figure out some way to really want him to die. Discord had, when they first met, stolen her wings. Well, that upset her. She focused on upset. He had brainwashed her into abandoning her friends. She focused more on that. He had hurt her friends. Now she was angry. She had never really believed in his reformation. Even now, she still didn't. It's only a matter of time before he did something evil again. Sure, she didn't think it was entirely necessarily to kill him, but part of her, a smaller part, admitted that it was something she really wanted to happen. The minute she thought that, the front of the door box opened, and without hesitation, she walked through the Discord door. Inside, she found Discord bound and gagged. He looked up her as he entered, looking for all the world like he was genuinely upset. An nasty thought played through Dash's mind. How does he like being helpless for a change? So with that thought in mind, and a grin on her, that she spoke. Discord, she said softly, I just want you to know that I really, honestly, do want you to die. You hurt my friends, and you twisted me into some horrible, disloyal pony. I don't think I ever forgave you. I don't think I ever can. I'm actually kind of glad that you're gonna die. Kaneku's eyes widened slightly in surprise, but didn't bother saying anything else. She turned and left the room. There was a flash of light, and she found herself back in her box. Applejack didn't believe in causing harm. It wasn't her nature, but she didn't believe in justice. As far as she was concerned, Discord hadn't received that much of a punishment. Clearly not as much of a punishment as she believed she deserved. The whole reformation thing aside, he had threatened all of it to Equestria. He was evil. It was obvious. Fluttershy, too kind Fluttershy, might have befriended him, but he was still Discord. He's evil, she said to herself softly. Evil. And yet, she couldn't honestly say that she wanted him to die. Be harshly punished, sure. But die? Could he even die? He was pretty powerful, but this fraternist seemed even more so. And whatever he might have seemed, he didn't seem to be lying, though Applejack was wary of believing anything any Jaquaniquist said, as her usual skills at detecting a lie was, well, next to useless on Discord, let alone another of his kind. Still, she couldn't risk Fluttershy on maybes and might-be's. She had to act on what she knew. And what she knew was that it was a choice between Discord and Fluttershy dying. If that was a choice, Fluttershy couldn't lie. Applejack couldn't lie and said she didn't want to save Fluttershy over Discord. She still couldn't say, in all truthfulness, that she wanted him dead. And yet, he had taken her honesty when they had first met. He had taken that which made her her. It was a worse crime than all the things he had done, worse than practically everything. Reformed or not, that was the most horrible thing anybody could have ever done to her. It made her mad just thinking about it. She sorrowed slightly, kicking out the walls of the box in frustration, only for a wall to open up, directly in front of Discord's door. She blinked at it before realizing she hadn't made her mind up. She walked through the door and found herself facing a bound and tied Discord. Howdy, Discord, she said, feeling slightly reserved. I want to be honest with ya. She felt silly. Y'all done a lot of things I can't forgive, she said. And I think you ought to be punished for it. The more I think of it, the more I think death is about the only punishment that'll cover it. She paused. Don't get me wrong. I don't like the idea of any pony dying. But you done some bad things, and you ain't nearly been punished enough for him. That's extreme. You did some darn extreme things. She nodded once, as though confirming this was her honest opinion, and left, not staying to see Discord's reaction. For Rarity, there wasn't all that much thinking to do. Discord had brainwashed her into being in love with a rock. That wasn't funny. That wasn't even uncouth. It was downright barbaric. He was barbaric, working herself up to feeling like he should die as, well, it was almost too easy. When she walked through Discord's door, she stood in front of him, a small smile on her face. Discord, she said simply, would you kindly die? She walked out immediately, unrepentant. Pinkie Pie would have had a lot of difficulty thinking of any reason I want any pony to die. She wanted to believe that there was good in every pony, be they Pegasus, Unicorn, or even a Jaquaniquist, but there was a choice to be made. It wasn't a nice choice. It wasn't even a funny choice. Heck, it wasn't even a remotely funny choice. There was genuinely nothing good about this choice at all. She had to pick some pony to die. She didn't want to hurt Discord. He was supposedly reformed, and if Fluttershy thought so, that was good enough for Pinkie. But she didn't want Fluttershy to be hurt either. And she had to pick. She would pick to save Fluttershy because, well, Fluttershy was her friend in Discord. No matter how funny the chaos would be or how good his chocolate rain was, just wasn't. She never even thrown him a party. She didn't because she didn't want to, and for her to admit that was just plain weird. She wanted to kill him, but she had to choose him. Slowly, she tried to think of a way to mean it. To mean that she wanted him to die. It was horrible, but if she didn't, she would end up accidentally voting for Fluttershy to die. That would just be horrible. She briefly toyed with the idea of it going through Fluttershy's door and telling her she wanted her to die. Supposedly, if you didn't mean it, that would count against the other person, but she didn't think she could bring herself to say it to Fluttershy, even if she didn't mean it. No. She had to find a way to say it to Discord and mean it. He had missed with her friends. They made her angry. Oh, wait. There's a grammar error right there. They made her angry. He had turned them against one another. That made her angrier. He had taken parties away from her. Taken laughter away from her. She walked through the Discord door without a second thought, facing the bound Draconicus and looking him dead in the eye. Discord, she said, sounding as serious as she could, I want you to die. She walked out again, feeling a strange mixture of justice and regret. Twilight was the last pony to go. She had thought about every possible option, not speaking up, not saying it once he was in there, saying half-heartedly to Fluttershy and hoping to explain later. But the solid truth was that there was no way out of what Fraternitus had said other than to do what he had said. She vaguely considered the possibility that Fraternitus was lying. Either that Discord couldn't actually die, or that Fraternitus wouldn't follow through with his threat. But just because Discord never killed, that doesn't mean he couldn't. And this Draconicus seemed more powerful and more threatening. And in any case, could she really frisk Fluttershy's life because of the possibility that Fraternitus was lying? She didn't want to kill any pony, but Equestria didn't have a death penalty, and Twilight had always been proud of that. But this was not something she could step away from. And she remembered all too well what he had done to them all. When she walked into the Discord room, the Draconicus was looking straight at the door, as if expecting someone. His eyes were filled with an odd emotion, something like resolution mixed with what? Discord, Twilight said softly. I want you to die. She stared at him for a long moment. He didn't seem to react to her words, but was that a gleam of water in his eyes? He blinked, and the soft trail of a tear tracked down his cheek. Not wanting to see him cry, Twilight walked out of the Discord room again. The minute the door closed, Fraternitus was in front of Discord. With a wave of his eagle claw, the gag disappeared. I told you, he said softly. I told you they'd never care for you. You manipulated them, Discord said at once, his voice heavy. I manipulated circumstances, Fraternitus replied with her hand airily. I put their backs up against the wall. They're the ones who summoned the feelings they felt, the words they spoke. In the extreme situations, Pony will say anything, Discord said, almost too softly to be heard. Oh, you're grasping at straws, Q, Fraternitus said. Discord didn't even bother correcting him. Face it, the other Draconicus said. They sent you up a creek with no canoe. I bet you threatened them. Discord said angrily. Threatened them? Me? Fraternitus said, an all too innocent expression on his face. Why would I do an unpleasant thing like that? To get your own way, Discord said. I know that trick. I invented that trick. Fraternitus grinned. I may have said something bad would happen to someone if they didn't say that to you. But I would have never done it. Discord said nothing, and Fraternitus waved his hand. Suddenly, every pony was standing outside Fluttershy's cottage, including Fluttershy herself. Fraternitus grinned, taking in the mixture of resolute and shamefaced expressions on the ponies' faces. So, every pony, he said, the votes are in. 5 for the execution of Discord, none for the execution of Fluttershy. Discord frowned in confusion before looking down at Fluttershy. She looked at him confused. So, Fraternitus said, time to kill Fluttershy then. The outraged expression nearly bowled Fraternitus over. He blinked. You meanie, Pinkie Pie yelled, tears in her eyes. How dare you? You lying varmint! Applejack growled, starting in reins. Did you seriously think I would kill my own brother? Fraternitus said, looking shocked at the reaction. Honestly, no, this was just a test. The test to show dear Discord just how little you care. He growled nastily. Do you know, if just one of you decided to sacrifice your friend to save him, I'd have spared her, he said. Just one of you did not meant it when you spoke, but somehow every single one of you chose to kill him. More than that, every single one of you meant it. Wholeheartedly. I'm almost impressed by your ruthlessness. But you said, Rainbow began, looking angry and confused. Oh, come on! I'm his brother, Fraternitus said, pointing at Discord, who looked equally shocked. It's not like you should be surprised at this shocking turn of events. Don't you dare hurt Fluttershy, you big meanie, Pinkie Pie said angrily. Or what? Said Fraternitus asked, looking Pinkie right in the eyes. What can you do to stop me. It's all right, Fluttershy suddenly yelled. Fraternitas looked down at her, and the only ponies did too. I'm okay with I'm okay with dying. It saves Discord's life, that is. It doesn't, Twilight yelled. He just said it didn't. He never killed him. But it might save him from having to go, Fluttershy said. He might have had to leave if I do. She looked up at her friend. I don't want you to have to leave. Don't, Discord said to her, holding up a hand. He turned to the Fraternitas. If I go with you, you let her go? Fraternitas looked even at Discord, regarding his brother analytically. You're offering to come. No problem, he asked. Yes, Discord said. His gaze swept coolly over the assembled ponies, warming considerably when it reached Fluttershy. These ponies have shown me precisely what they think of me. I won't lose the only one who cares. Fraternitas clapped. Excellent! No more time to waste, Brother Q. Now that you're willing, I can do this. He waved his hand, and suddenly, Q remembered. He can smell the cosmos! He remembered wanting to study something other than humans for a while. He remembered wanting to retain enough power not to be helpless, but restraining himself so as to not frighten them. He remembered choosing a form, keeping his personality but locking his memories away. He remembered Celestia, the stone, the release, the reformation, everything. He frowned at his brother. Oh, such a limited term for a complex idea. The Conicus body he had chosen was, in Q's opinion, nowhere near as stylish as his own. Q, he said slowly. I said a few moments ago that this was my turf and I didn't want anybody interfering. That means you. Yeah. Well, we have a small problem and we need your attention for a moment or so. The Fraternitas Q replied, shrugging. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. It already took me too long to find you. A small problem, Q said, annoyed. You caused emotional distress to my friend instead of just immediately releasing my fetters, and you call it a small problem? It better be another zero incident to make up for this pain in my rear. Sorry, his brother said, holding up a hand to placate him. I just thought I'd have a bit of fun. Q held up a finger. You mess with me, Q. I'm not one of those life forms. He gave a sudden dark grin. I hope you remember who you're talking to. Unfeathered, all-knowing, all-seeing. The Fraternitas Q sighed. I know. I'm sorry. There was a pause. Look, I'll meet you back at the Continuum. I think you'll have a discussion with your friends to have first. Fine, Q said, sighing. His brother Q flashed away a moment later, leaving Q at the ponies. He frowned at them all. So, he said simply, you wanted me dead. The group of ponies looked suitably shamefaced and abashed, except for Fluttershy, who was confused. I don't understand, she said. Oh, it's simple, Q said. Your little friends here had the choice between picking one of us two to die, and they picked me. Every last one of them. And they said it to my face, and I think back every single one of them really meant it. Fluttershy's eyes widened in horror, and she stepped away from her friend slightly. It's horrible. How could you? Back to the walls. Everybody is capable of truly horrid things, whether they like to admit it or not, Q said tiredly. He's seen enough of it in a billion years. Given a choice between hurting you or me, they would always pick me. And wanting to kill me, that's just a matter of working yourself up for it. He didn't know how he felt. It was like he was torn between rage and what? Sadness? Like they had betrayed him almost. Like he had almost lost something. The other ponies looked up at him, all of them clearly hesitant, but clearly wanting to try and apologize somehow. Well, he said, trying to forestall them, I guess I should be glad Q wasn't listening to you. The ponies still looked shamefaced. Discord, said softly, I. Don't pretend like you're ashamed. Discord, Q said, holding up a hand. I know you weren't when you said it, and that's what counts. All you wanted me to suffer. That's fine. I've had that before. I suppose expected more from you. He laughed slightly. More fuel, Q. The ponies looked even more ashamed of themselves. If that were possible, and Fluttershy kept looking horrified. Discord regarded them for a moment, then sighed and looked at Fluttershy. I'll be back in a short while, I'm sure, he said. He turned to the others. Since this is weighing so heavily on your minds, let me relieve you of it. He waved his head, and suddenly none of the ponies could remember what had happened. He clicked his fingers, and they vanished back to where they'd been. Hugh turned to Fluttershy. What did you do? She asked, looking at the space her friends have occupied. Oh, remove their memory of this encounter, he said airily. Guilt is such a bore. So they won't remember that they were so horrible? Fluttershy asked. clearly still shocked that her friends had done such a thing. Nope, the Draconicus replied, sighing. Lucky mortals. There was a moment's pause. Q, Discord, was looking off in the distance somewhere, while Fluttershy kept looking at him, concern evident in her face. Discord, she asked softly after a long moment. Are you okay? Fine, he said tiredly, lying to ease her mind. Telling her just how he felt wouldn't help anyone. Just irritated that my brother managed to prove a point. You'll talk to me about this when you get back, won't you? Fluttershy asked, wetting her eyes slightly. Oh no, she was half upset on his behalf. Discord sighed again, realizing what he must do. I don't think so, my friend, he said. In fact, I don't think you need this any more than I do. She realized what he meant half a second before he did it, but he didn't give her the time to protest. He snapped his fingers, and Fluttershy was returned to where she had been, all her memories of the incident having also been removed. He had taken memories. It was a violation in any way, and one he would have never forgiven had their situations if they had been reversed. But in the case of the others, their insistent guilt they only felt he thought sourly, because he hadn't ended up dying, would be annoying. And he really didn't want to deal with it. In the case of Fluttershy, he wanted to spare her his pain, and he knew she had asked to hear everything. He was older than some stars. He knew he had too much even for her kind heart to handle. Besides, had she let her keep her memories and not let them, she had resented them and not known why. Had she let them all keep their memories, they might have been torn apart. They didn't want Fluttershy to lose her friends. Sighing and shaking the maudlin out of him, quite literally, a small bag labeled Discord's maudlin feelings fell out of his ears. He shook. Discord snapped his fingers for a third time and vanished back to the continuum. He had better wanted something worth what had happened here. Okay, so that was the story. This was actually a really good story. Um, I like the fact that it's self-contained. Discord managing to erase everyone's memories and not really mattering in the long run because he's just going to come back and probably tether himself to the world again. Oh, who knows? Honestly, you never know. But yeah, I think this story is really good. A 5 out of 5. I only that grammar error I saw somewhere around that somewhere. Yes, I think with Applejack, me being an error. But yeah, that's my reading of His Name is Q. I will see you next time. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and